They told us the case was simple. They told us the killer had a name. They told us it was Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old university student accused of assassinating one of the most controversial political voices in America, Charlie Kirk. The world was told not to ask questions, not to think twice, not to doubt. But how can we not doubt when every single detail of this case feels broken, manipulated, rewritten? How can we accept the official story when so much of it simply doesn't add up? On that night, chaos ripped through the air. Sirens, screaming, the rush of police officers storming a scene that was already slipping into confusion. Witnesses shouted, but their voices contradicted each other. Some swore they were two shooters. Others insisted they saw someone fleeing while Tyler was already on the ground. Within hours, though, none of that mattered. Because within hours, officials had already announced the name, Tyler Robinson. Why so fast? Why rush to close the case before the evidence was even collected? Why silence the very people who were on the ground, who saw and heard things that don't align with the official version? That should disturb you. It should disturb anyone who believes in truth and justice, because if the foundation of a case is built on shaky ground, then everything stacked on top of it is a lie. Look closer at the crime scene. Early photographs taken by first responders tell one story, but the images later released to the public tell another. Objects shifted, a weapon moved, evidence missing, bullet holes that don't match the angles investigators later claimed. If this were truly the work of a single shooter, why alter anything at all? Why contaminate the very scene that should have been preserved at all costs? And then we get to the weapon. The supposed murder weapon found next to Tyler Robinson. But was it really his? Fingerprint analysis was inconclusive, though the public was told otherwise. Gunshot residue testing failed to prove that he even fired a shot. And yet, somehow, this weapon was paraded as the smoking gun, the final piece of proof. But experts who examined the photos raised disturbing questions. The angle of the gun on the floor, the placement of the magazine, the absence of residue on his hands. These are not small inconsistencies. These are glaring contradictions. If Tyler didn't fire the weapon, who did? Now let's talk about ballistics. Ballistics don't lie unless someone tampers with them. Early reports described multiple calibers found at the scene. That detail was quickly scrubbed from later versions. If only one gun was fired, why would more than one caliber appear in early reports? Unless there were two guns, two shooters. And if that's the case, why was only Tyler Robinson charged? The investigation itself was mishandled from the very beginning. Officers wandered the scene without gloves, evidence bags mislabeled, key security footage disappeared, conveniently due to a so-called technical glitch. Do glitches like that happen in the most high-profile case of the decade? Or do glitches like that happen when someone doesn't want the truth to come out? Even more disturbing is how quickly Tyler Robinson's entire life was rewritten for the public. Within hours, headlines branded him a radical, a troubled student, a ticking bomb. But if you dig deeper, the picture looks different. Friends describe him as quiet, reserved, even lost at times. Not a killer, not a mastermind. Which raises the question, was he manipulated? Was he indoctrinated? Was he placed in the perfect position to take the blame while the real shooter disappeared into the night? Think about it. If you wanted to stage the perfect scapegoat, who would you choose? Someone young, someone vulnerable, someone without the means to defend themselves against the full weight of the state. That's Tyler Robinson. And some claim that in the months before the shooting, Tyler was attending meetings, gatherings, study groups that had little to do with academics. Were these harmless? Or were they something darker? Were they conditioning him, preparing him, grooming him to play a role he didn't even understand? The signs of a cover-up are everywhere. 3 students swore they saw another figure fleeing. Their testimonies were dismissed. A professor questioned the inconsistencies in the crime scene photographs. That professor went silent. Experts who contradicted the official version were sidelined, their reports buried. If the case against Tyler was so strong, why silence so many voices? Why bury so much evidence? This isn't just negligence. This feels orchestrated, deliberate. A performance for the public where the script was written before the first officer even arrived. And the real question becomes, who wrote that script? Who stood to gain from the death of Charlie Kirk and the conviction of Tyler Robinson? Some will say political rivals. Others point to extremist groups desperate to spark chaos and division. Some whisper about intelligence agencies pulling strings behind the scenes. But here's the unsettling part. No matter which theory you believe, the evidence points to one undeniable fact. The truth has been buried, and it was buried fast. Now pause and ask yourself, why would they need to alter the scene? Why move the gun? Why erase reports of multiple calibers? Why rush to declare guilt before even gathering all the facts? These aren't random mistakes. They're choices. And choices like these suggest a motive bigger than justice. The human cost of this case is enormous. A man is dead, family shattered, a nation divided, and another young man, Tyler Robinson, branded forever as a killer before the trial even began. What if he's innocent? If that's the case, society has failed twice, first in allowing the assassination, and again in punishing the wrong man. And this is only the beginning. We haven't even touched on the missing hours before the crime, the digital records wiped clean, the suspicious disappearances of individuals connected to Tyler. Why do those names vanish from official reports? Why does no one in power want to follow those leads? If you want answers, if you want to keep uncovering the truth they don't want you to know, subscribe right now, because what's coming next is even more disturbing. The deeper you look into this case, the stranger it gets. Why did 3 key witnesses recant their statements under pressure? Why did an entire block of campus surveillance cameras fail at the exact same moment the shots were fired? Why was the autopsy report on Charlie Kirk locked away from independent review? And why, in the hours after the shooting, did multiple news outlets already have pre-written pieces ready to publish about Tyler Robinson's guilt? Does that sound like reporting or like a script? And then there's the question of motive. If Tyler Robinson truly pulled the trigger, what was his motive? He left no manifesto, no video, no explanation. Nothing. And yet we are told he was driven by ideology, by hatred, by politics. Convenient, isn't it? Convenient for those who want to use this tragedy to inflame division, to point fingers, to gain power. But without proof, motive becomes nothing more than a story, and a story can be written by anyone. So who benefits from that story? Who benefits from declaring Tyler guilty and closing the case quickly? Who benefits from silencing dissent, burying evidence, erasing contradictions? Follow the trail of power and you'll find your answer. But here's the terrifying truth. Until the real shooter is identified, no one is safe. If this was an organized act, it won't be the last. If Tyler was just a decoy, the real assassin is still out there. And if the system can frame one man so easily, it can frame anyone. So think about that the next time you're told a case is solved. Think about that the next time headlines declare guilt before trial even begins. And think about that as you listen to the details still to come. Because what we've uncovered so far is only scratching the surface. The documents, the hidden testimonies, the inconsistencies, they paint a picture that is darker and more unsettling than anything you've been told. This is the story of a case built on lies. A case contaminated from the very beginning. A case where the truth was not revealed, but buried. And the only way to uncover it is to keep asking questions they don't want you to ask. So stay with us. Subscribe if you haven't already, because what comes next will change everything you thought you knew about the Charlie Kirk case, about Tyler Robinson, and about the system that promised justice, but delivered something very different. And remember, if they could do this once, what's stopping them from doing it again?